Okay, dear children, now we'll continue with the phylums. Alright. So now first we are going to start. Now last class we studied about the difference between chordates, non-chordates and all the important coelom, body cavity, all that we have studied about the symmetry and all that. Okay. So now we are going to see the phylum each and what are the special characteristic features of the phylum. So first is called the Porifera. Porifera itself means it is having, the organisms are having pores on its body. Pores means small holes are present on its body. That is why it's called Porifera. So example of Porifera are the sponges. Sponges you have seen, there are such a lot of number of holes or pores are present on its body. So they are called the sponges. Now sponges, they are all marine. Marine means they are seen in sea water. Then their body is asymmetrical. Asymmetrical means when you cut them through the center, you cannot divide them into equal halves. That is why they are called asymmetrically. That is, we have the radially symmetrical, asymmetrical as well as bilaterally symmetrical. Then they have the cellular level of organization. So organisms are having, some of the organisms are having 4 levels of organization: cellular level, tissue level, organ system level. But here they only have the first strata or the first stage or the first step, that is called the cellular level of organization. Then they have the water transport system. That is very special and an important characteristic feature of the Porifera, having the water transport system. So the water transport system helps in gathering the food. That means they are able to gather food. Then they are able to circulate the respiratory gases, and also they are able to help in excretion. That means give out the waste to the surrounding water. So that is a 3 function of the water system. Transport, helping in gathering of food, helping in respiration as well as helping in excretion. Now this is the structure of the sponge. Alright. Now the water transport system, on its body surface, it has got number of minute holes. Alright. Those holes are called the ostia. What are the holes on its body called? It's called the ostia. Then they have a central cavity here, that is called the spongiocele. And the spongiocele are lined. Lined means having a lining inside, that is called the choanocytes. Cytes means cells. So those cells which line the spongiocele are called the choanocytes. What are they called? Choanocytes. Alright. Then the water comes through the surrounding or from the sides, enters this, and after that the excess water goes out through a lid-like structure, that is called ossiculum. What is that structure called? Ossiculum. The water gets out of the body. So water comes through the ostia, travels through the spongiocele, through the outer ossiculum, the pores, it goes out of the body. So this water transport system is an important characteristic feature of the, that is which phylum? Organisms coming under which phylum? Porifera. Alright. So their digestion is intracellular. That means it is taking place in between the cells. Then their body is having spicules. That means on its body they have small projection. They are called either spicules or they are called spongin fibers. So they have small spicules or they are having spongin fibers. Then it is an hermaphrodite. So the body of the Porifera or the sponges are hermaphrodites, means they are having both the sex in the same organism. When both the reproductive organs and the gametes are produced in the same organism or seed, the same organism, they are called hermaphrodite or they are called bisexual. Then they are asexually. That means they are reproducing asexually by a mode of reproduction called fragmentation. Fragmentation means small fragments, small pieces itself can give rise to a new organism. That is called fragmentation. Then they are reproducing sexually. Then that is by producing gametes. So the gametes are the male gamete and the female gamete. Then their fertilization is internal, taking place inside the body. Then the development is indirect. Indirect means they have the larval stage, like we have the metamorphosis. So they have the larval stage. Then after that they will get the adult stage. So the larva and the adult are totally different. So you can distinctly, you can tell that this is a larval stage, and you can also classify them under the adult stage. So distinctly they are differently, or you can, by just looking at it, you can distinctly differentiate the difference, or you can see the difference. So that is why they are distinct from their adults morphologically. Morphologically means externally. When you see an organism externally, it is called morphologically. Anatomically means internally. Whatever you see changes, they are called anatomically. Then the examples of this are cycon, then we have the spongula and the euspongia. So these spellings you have to write 2 or 3 times and study today itself after the video class, because such a lot of terms we are coming across in zoology, and these are not words which were acquainted before, and we are not using it in a day-to-day life. So after some time at the end of the year, you will have difficulty in recalling these names. So that is why then and there write the spellings and be thorough with the spellings. Alright. So it is called the cycon, it is called the spongula, and it is called the euspongia. These are all examples of the organism, that is the sponges, coming under the Porifera phylum. Alright. So the next phylum is the Coelenterata. It is called Coelenterata, or it is called Cnidaria. Alright. So it can be called, that is, it can be called Coelenterata, or it can be called the Cnidaria. So they are all aquatic, mainly marine. Marine means seen in sea water. Then they are sessile or free swimming. Sessile means attached to a rock or a part of a rock, or some of them are swimming freely in water. Then they have the nidoblast. So that is the speciality of this particular coelentrates. That is why it's called Cnidaria, because they have the nidoblast. Now you would have studied Hydra having tentacles. Inside that it is having the nematocyst, which is actually having the sting cells, which are actually producing chemicals, and they are actually, what they do, they just spray some poison on the prey, so the prey gets paralyzed for some time and it takes the food. Similarly here also they have the nidoblast. Then this nidoblast is mainly having 3 functions. One is anchorage, getting attached, or just getting attached somewhere. Then it is having defense and also capturing the prey. Capturing the prey means the organism as its food. So these are the 3 functions of the nidoblast: anchorage, defense, capturing of the prey. This is very important. They always ask for 1 mark from the examination point of view. Then they have the tissue level. That means cellular level is also there. Tissue level, 2 levels of organization is there. Then it is diploblastic. Diploblastic means having 2 layers. If it has 3 layers, it's called triploblastic. If it is having 2 layers, it is called diploblastic. That is ectoderm and the endoderm. Then they are having the mouth. That means the mouth region, they have a common opening, that is called hypostome. So what is that mouth region called? That opening called? It is called the hypostome. Then the digestion here is outside as well as in between the cells. That is why it's called intracellular and extracellular. Then we have the corals. So mainly under this particular, that is coelentrates, we have the corals which are hard, and you can see them in sea. So when they are hard because they are made up of calcium carbonate. Alright. Now you know your bones and your teeth, they are also hard because of the deposition of calcium, phosphorus and other minerals. So here mainly it is calcium carbonate which makes the corals, give them a hard structure or a hard appearance, or when you touch also it's very hard because it's having calcium carbonate. Then they have two body forms. One is the polyps, another is called the medusa. So the ciliatrates are having two body forms. One is called the polyp, another is called the medusa. Now here these are the two body forms. Now polyps, what they do is they get reduced, that is they are reproducing asexually and they produce a medusae. So the polyps undergo asexual reproduction and they are producing the medusae. The medusae are producing polyps by sexual mode of reproduction. So medusae converts or forms the polyps sexually, polyp forms the medusae asexually. So they have two types, alternation of generation, that is sexual and asexual. That is why they are called metagenesis. So what is this alternation of generation called? Metagenesis. That is a property of the reproduction where the polyp forms a medusa forms a polyp. Alright. And then we also have examples, Aurella, jellyfish, all that we'll be seeing in the G-meat. Alright. Then here mainly the examples are the Physalia. Physalia is called the Portuguese man of war. So this is a common name given for it. Then we have the Admasia. Admasia is called sea anemone. Now when you go to the Rameshwaram beach and some of the important beaches on the sandy bed, when you just step on it, you can see they just some organism under this that is in the sandy bed starts tickling your feet. So when you just move the sand, you can see the sea anemone which will be cylindrical in shape. Alright. So that is called sea anemone. That is called Admasia. Then we have the Pennatula. They just look like a pen. Just like a pen. That is why it's called sea pen. Then we have the Gorgonia. It is just like a fan with the Japanese fan you have seen. So that is why it's called the sea fan. Then we have the Meandrina. That is the brain coral. Alright. That means that the shape of a brain. You have seen the brain having ventricles and grooves and folds and all that. Same way this coral will also have the folds on it, body. That is why it's called brain coral. It is called, the scientific name, it is called Meandrina. So it is a Physalia, called the Portuguese man of war. Admasia, that's called sea anemone. Pennatula, it's called the sea pen. Gorgonia, it is called the sea fan. Meandrina, it is called the brain coral. So these are the examples of the phylum Cilientrata, or it is called the Cnidarians. Alright. Then the next phylum is called the Ctenophora. So organism coming under Ctenophora, they are called ctenophores. Alright. They include the comb jellies or they include the sea walnuts. So the organisms are sea walnuts or they are the comb jellies. Then they are mostly marine, seen in sea water. They are radially symmetrical. Then they are diploblastic. Diploblastic means again having two layers. Then they have the two levels of organization, tissue level, cellular as well as tissue level. Then these are the characteristic. Then another is the presence of the comb plates. So this is organism. You can see there are like a comb, 8 rows. You have seen the comb you use for hair, brushing a hair. You can see there are what combs, your hairs. You can see there are, that is projections on the comb. Similarly here also they have 8 rows of ciliated cells. They are called the comb plates. These comb plates help in locomotion, moving from one place to another. So that is a comb plates which helps in locomotion. Then the digestion here is both intracellular as well as extracellular. Then another special characteristic feature is they have the property of bioluminescence. So you must have seen firefly. When firefly moves, it emits light. Alright. Similarly here from its body also it is able to emit light. So that is why bluish greenish light is given out of its body. That property is called bioluminescence, which is seen in the ctenophores. That is important. That is a special characteristic feature. Then here the sexes are not separate. They are in the same organism. Then here they are undergoing what mode of reproduction? Sexual mode of reproduction involving the fusion of gametes. Then here the fertilization is outside the body, that is why it's called external fertilization, and it is indirect, not directly forming from egg to the adult. It is indirect development. Examples of these are pleurobrachia and tenoplana. So which are the two examples for the ctenophores? It is a tenoplana and pleurobrachia. So these are the examples of this particular ctenophores or the ctenophora. So we have studied about the three phylums. That is first phylum Porifera, next is the Coelenterata, the third one we have studied about the ctenophora. So the special characteristic features of these three phylums you have to study. So one is having water transport, one is having two-form body form, medusa and pollic. Another important is having comb plates helping in locomotion, bioluminescence which is able to emit light. Alright, and also the examples you have to study, note it down, write down the spellings and study. And then all the other, the same thing today itself, I'll be repeating you in the Google Meet. So that after the Google Meet, watching the video, that portion and read your text today itself. So when you read that part of the text, everything will become very crystal clear. So don't carry doubts because we have 11 chapters. All of them are equally important and they are also going into the details. So it will take time. So study then and there. So don't accumulate and don't tell tomorrow I'll do it. So do everything on the day when you see the video. And if you have any doubts regarding this, you can put a message or you can at least in the Google Meet, you can just ask me. I'll clarify. If not, you can call me personally after 7 o'clock and then I'll clarify your doubts. Okay.